What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? We're just getting waiting here to talk to Kevin Weeks. Hello. Hey, you want to check to see if sound's coming through on Twitch? It did, because I don't see the mixer on there popping up. Yeah, I'm live. Yep. Well, you should be able to pick up the Weeks feed right now. No, you should be hearing him talk. Is that not happening? There we go. I got it.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Not sure how things are going for you business wise, but hope you're hanging in there and hanging tough. Appreciate you tuning in. We got Brad W352. Thank you so much. Hey Flav, your neighbor just picked up an RR Sport SVR. Tell him welcome to the family, man. I love mine. We love it. We love ours. So thanks so much. We love being a part of the Jag Land Rover family. So thanks a million, and congratulate your neighbor on it. They're great trucks, man. We love them.
Yeah.
All right, who else we have? Greg underscore Burns. What's up?
Yeah.
Hey, if any of you have any questions, be sure to go ahead. We're going to try to get to as many of your questions as possible, okay? So, whatever questions you may have for Craig Anderson, he's played in the NHL a long time. He's big in motorsports. We talk about business never sleeps. You guys hear me say business never sleeps. You ladies hear me say business never sleeps. Craig Anderson is an example of that. He's taking care of his business on the ice and also off the ice as well. Who else do we have here? Yes, what's up, Greg? Oh, you're back in Scarborough. Yes, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Scarbs always, Scarbs to the bone. Thanks so much, Puck Daddy. I see you on here. Appreciate your kind words, man, and you tuning in from the left
Question is,
coast out of beautiful sunny
request to
California.
go live?
Hope you're having a great day out there and hope the weather is cooperating. I know you guys have gotten some rain.
That's the old
School
trick.
Goalie Meister, thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate you tuning in. I mentioned the other day,
Sent him
I've been talking to my former goalie partner in the great Nikolai Habibulin, who's the Stanley Cup champ with the '04 Tampa Bay Lightning. And we're going to try to get Habby together. I know he's doing some great stuff on his Instagram, and you're doing some great stuff on yours too, School Goalie Master. So we're going to try to get Habibulin on the show in the not too distant future, okay? All right, so who else? Any questions you have, go ahead. Fire away. Smiley YYC, what's up in Calgary? Hope it's a great day. Hope the snow's easing up. Talk to some family up there in Calgary. What's going on? What are we, April what, 13th, 14th? The snow's got to subside for you up there. Hope it does. 9 Hockey 4, what up? Happy to see you on here too. JB, my man JB Spiso says Craig Anderson is such a professional. You're absolutely right. Andy is a consummate professional, which is why his NHL career has continued to go on now for 18 years. That longevity, and I've come to understand that he also have that same NHL approach that he has to his craft. He also has with motorsports and his racing teams, which he's going to get into, and we'll talk about here momentarily. So, Andy, if you're out there, let me check and see. I haven't seen you on here yet, Andy, but if you are on here, let me know. Axiom, if Andy's on here, also let me know. Look forward to having him. He can add himself and add him to my live here, and we're going to try to get him up here momentarily, okay? So, you NHL fans, please bear with us as we're trying to work this out here with the technology because, you know, this is what network men and women do so well, especially those that are off camera. And in advance, thanks to all of you that watch us on the NHL Network. We appreciate you. Thanks so much. We appreciate all of you that tune in. And hold on one second here. Andy, go ahead and send me a request, okay? Because I'm having difficulty doing it by me sending it to you.
I just
Who
did.
else do we have on here? Let's see who else we've got on the stream
There we go.
that I haven't recognized. Carol Popper, thanks so much, man. Thanks for Andy. We're connecting.
All
Everything.
right.
Andy, what's up, man?
What's going on? How are you?
What's
Can,
happening?
can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear, and we can see you. I'm glad that you put the your phone on vertical. That gives us a great shot for the NHL fans to literally get inside of what you're doing. So, Senators fans, if they're in Ottawa, if they're around the world, and just NHL fans in general around the world, say what's up to them. Tell us where you're at.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me out here, Kevin. As always, pleasure talking to you. So
Back at
we
you, man.
are
Thank you.
in Florida right now. I drove back once the quarantine kind of set place. Head back home. Um, Took some time here at a hotel for a couple days to make sure that everything was kind of kosher. Once we found out that a couple guys had tested positive, so kind of hung
Hmm.
out for a little bit and. Now we're here at home in Florida with the family and the kids, and popping over here to my warehouse where we've got the sim rig set up with some of the race cars in the back, and just killing time right now and trying to be have as much time as I can as to be a dad with the kids.
That's really cool. Andy, we're going to keep this interactive because you're actually doing some simulated driving right now. As we can see, you're in the simulator. I see that seat, the racing seat. You got the shades on. Bring us a little bit deeper inside of where you're at in terms of your setup right now, because a lot of people don't know this about you. And before I throw it to you, I always say business never sleeps. And none of us live in NHLville. You know, we're regular folks that work exceptionally hard and just happen to have a lot of talent and work really hard at that. You've done that 6 years in the NHL. But on the side, you also have a racing kind of portfolio that you've been able to build. So maybe just explain the headset, the whole get up, so the fans can get a one on one of what you've been up to.
Well, right now I've got you guys streaming through the Twitch. So we've got the Instagram Live
Sweet.
going through the Twitch, which is
Nice.
kind of cool. We spent all day. Axiom Innovates was a proud partner of us trying to get that thing going for us. So they were able to get the technology sorted for us, and right now we're streaming there to just kind of give a general, look in to see what we're doing here. We've been doing sim racing for maybe I've been doing it about 10 years. Every year the technology's been getting lots
No
and lots
way.
better.
10
Yeah,
years already.
yeah.
Wow.
So as I've kind of grown, everyone probably knows PlayStations and Gran Turismo is kind of where it all kind of started, and it's grown now
Right.
to where NASCAR and IndyCar is during this quarantine. They're
Right.
running on Saturdays and Sundays to, all the pro guys, and it's probably the only video game where pros can go on and do what they do in real life. So it's kind of a neat experience. I love it because it's calming for me. It's kind of my passion. So I like to do it as far as in season. I got two in my basement. My buddy and I we hook it up, and
Mhm.
um, we like everybody else plays Fortnite or whatnot. We're down there racing and killing time, and it's definitely a good escape from the game in order to kind of get your mind away from it and just kind of focus on something to have fun with.
So, hey, Andy, whatever you're doing is working. 18 years in the NHL, still kicking amazing saves with the Senators. You've been their longest tenured goalie in their history, and you've rewritten a lot of the history books for them. So, whatever you're doing, it's working. But this is really cool, us being able to get a firsthand look. So, we're going to get some questions from the stream as well. Some NHL fans that are tuned in. We got Brad W352 who says, Andy, I saw your new pads today. Hope you get to use them this year. Go Sens. Andy, I did see those too. Those look sweet. You want to explain the setup a little bit?
Well, we went with white mostly part of the start of the year because when in the summer, I, kind of was humming and hawing over the Bryans and the
Mm-hmm.
Bauer, and I hadn't really ordered gear, and it was like mid-July, right? And we start skating in
Wow.
August, yeah. So I was like, all
Yeah,
right,
exactly. Yeah.
usually Bryans is pretty quick in getting it going, so I was like, I wasn't too worried about it. And then, I called Bauer. I'm like, hey, just out of curiosity, just send me a pair of pads, see what they're like. And so I ended up talking to those guys, and we came up with a pad. And I'm like, just send me whatever's quickest. So we just
Mhm.
kind of threw something together real quick because they do have that Digiprint or whatever it is
Right.
for the
Yeah.
Bauer.
It
So,
was
but
sweet technology.
it is great technology, but
Yeah.
it takes 6, 8 weeks for them to get that printed and whatnot. So it does
Ooh.
take time. So without planning, flying
Ooh.
by the seat of my pants, I was like, all right, just get me something quickly. They hammered out a pair of pads, and I just kind of went with the white and the small color for a while. And then they
Mm-hmm.
came mid-season, and we started looking at colors and the new graphics and whatnot. So we were definitely looking into the Digiprint, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things where I was dragging my feet again. Hadn't picked anything, and
Sure.
the new graphic came out. I'm like, oh, I like those graphics a lot better than what was currently. So we decided to put some color in there, and that's what we kind of came up with. So I do have to admit, Hoggy was there helping me with the color scheme a little bit. And
Nice.
we ordered our pads the exact same time. However, his ended up showing up a couple weeks early. So
Really
I
young
got,
guy getting the see. That's how the game's changed now, Andy. The game's changed.
yeah. I mean, I was the same way back then. I remember sitting there with the Bryans guy
Yep.
in
Same.
Toronto, and Cujo was still in the league, and Cujo was
Yeah.
a Brian's guy, and I'm like, hey, you got to get some young guys in there, So
Right.
it's the same way. It's just it goes through cycles, and now I'm on
Totally.
the other side of it, so it's a different point of view.
I certainly get that, man. Hey, we've got Stu in Boca, who's a huge Panthers fan. Obviously knows you from down there. Who says, Andy's another Boca boy. We also have CPEC44 who says, iRacing is amazing. Super Dad 15 who says, yeah, what you playing? So why don't you tell them exactly what you've kind of got rigged up there, Andy? Because you're a pro at this now.
I don't know if I'm a pro, but definitely an enthusiast and a hobbyist of it. This thing is pretty legit. It's a next level racing chassis, so we've worked out a partnership with them. It's their triple monitor screen, so we'll pop you on here. We've got triple monitors here,
Whoa.
so we've got the three monitors, the wheel,
That's
full pedal setup, and then we've got all extra data. So we'll run our stream up here with some extra data that we want to know as far as who we're running against, what their quality of player they are, and it kind of gets you in tune. So the cool thing about iRacing is that all the
yes.
tracks are laser scanned. So everything
Oh,
in here has
really?
been laser scanned. So every bump, every elevation change is going to be exactly like it would be in real life. So right now
Wow.
I've got Road Atlanta fired up right now, but I've driven tracks like Road America, I've driven Palm Beach, I've driven Calabogie, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park there in Toronto, Watkins Glen. All these tracks in the game are exactly like they are in real life.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's crazy. That
So
is unreal. That level of detail and accuracy. So let me follow up with that. I know that you mentioned when we were texting earlier, you mentioned Calabogie earlier, right?
yep.
Do you have a favorite track outside of Calabogie? Is there another track that, for whatever reason, just like having a favorite rink in the NHL or maybe back in junior in the O, but do you have a favorite track that every time you get on that, you're like, I'm ready to roll today. I'm going to be Lewis Hamilton today.
So it's always like your hometown building, right? So it's our
Yeah,
hometown track, Black Hawk Farms Raceway. It's in the Wisconsin-Illinois border. Our
right.
shops are where we keep my Corvette. My brother and I, we work out of that facility. It's
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes from the track. It's easy to pop in and out. That's kind of like the home track. Calabogie has now become the home track too.
Mm-hmm.
But my two other favorite tracks is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah,
Elevation
most sports.
changes, super
Right,
fast, and then Road America. Two tracks
right.
where all the pros go,
Yeah.
and you can be driving there, alongside the same weekend as a NASCAR event or IndyCar. So what the idea is that if you do a support series race, so IndyCar can't run 24 hours a
Mhm.
day at the track, so you have to have support races. Support races are radicals or Indy Lights or whatever. So those are kind of like the minor leagues or gentleman racers. So you can pay to play those types of things, show up for the same weekend, enjoy the same fanfare with those guys. Porsche Cup joins F1 in Montreal.
Yep.
So again,
Sick.
you're a pay to play guy, but you're there rubbing shoulders with all the high rollers. So it's kind of a neat experience. It's a spot where sometimes you don't have to be the greatest as long as you got a big pocketbook.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. We've got CPEC 44. I follow your Twitch. Also, a note of upliftment to you here. My man Sean Rich back in Owen Sound said, Craig was glad to hear that your wife has beat her battle with throat cancer, which was inspirational for all of us, by the way. Nicole's amazing. He says he lost his cousin 15, um, yeah, 2015. So we certainly applaud your wife, Nicole, and all of her strength that she's shown and her grace and becoming a great ambassador, too, for the NHL and our Hockey Fights Cancer Initiative. That was an amazing, amazing sense of inspiration that you guys, as a family, that you guys brought to our league and to our sport. So thank you both so much. If Nicole's tuned in, thank you so much. And we're all in that battle together, just like we are here with COVID. It's one big battle. You might have your favorite team, your favorite player, your favorite rink, but as when it comes to these life challenging situations like COVID-19 or like cancer, we're all in it together, hand in glove around the world. So, Nicole, if you're tuned in, thank you so much. Thanks so much. Let's get another question in here. Actually, a point. We got Brent35 who says, Anderson, he should have a banner and jersey retired in Ottawa someday. And I certainly echo that. Andy, we got another question here from Emily B. Harlan, who's out in San Diego. I love her enthusiasm. She's a young TV voice for the Anaheim Ducks AHL team, right? And she writes, you spent some time in the AHL. How did that help you in the development of your career?
As far as the HL, I think it's a good stepping stone. And when I was entering the league and going up and down through the league, the American League, we were playing 4 and 5 nights. We were still playing
Yep.
almost an 80 game schedule. on buses, traveling. I mean, it was a tough schedule as far as playing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They've kind of toned that down now in the American League. Some of the travel's better. They've kind of separated the league where if you're on the West Coast, you stay on the West Coast. East Coast, you stay on the East Coast. So when I was coming through it was a good learning experience. You see a lot of great guys. I've played with a lot of great players throughout the time, and there's no better challenge than kind of the adversity you go through in the American League because it
True.
is a grind. When you're young, you don't know any better, and then once you kind of get that taste of a call up, you're like, all right, well, how do I work my way back up there? So that's kind of where things are at with playing the American League. It's the second best league in the world, arguably,
Sure.
and it's a lot of up and coming talent. And the guys, I think the leagues are getting younger and younger. So and there's more talent coming up. So
Yeah.
there's more players playing. So you have to have the American League development to kind of feed the NHL.
No question. Skinny 302 says, I've seen you turn some laps at Calabogie. Do you have a track prep car of your own? Well, Andy, I'm going to let you take this over right now. That's right in your wheelhouse.
All right, so we've got multiple vehicles. Like I said, I started getting into motorsports and go-karting. Um, my dad raced in the early 80s, IMSA prototypes, IMSA GTO with the Corvettes. Got back into it in the late 90s, kind of when I started turning pro. Kind of tagged along, been a a track rat type thing.
Sure.
And then got into go-karting in the early 2000s, and then ended up getting my own Corvette in kind of the late 2000s. Um, since then it's grown.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 4 years ago, I met with Tooth Autosport. They're the club Calabogie Pro there. So the
Mm-hmm.
head coach, the head team up there, that kind of, if you need something, they're the kind of guys you go to.
And they're
And
based in Ottawa, correct?
they're based in Ottawa. They are set
Okay.
up at the track, so they are a
Mm-hmm.
partner at the track. They've got their shop at the track. So I met them about 4 years ago. Started getting involved with the track Mustangs they have there. We had a bunch. My brother
Cool.
and I had Corvettes. We had Miatas for spec Miata. We moved the Miatas up to start kind of a development program. So you start in the Miatas at Calabogie, get coaching, you work your way up, and then we've got also the Porsche, which we've had
Right.
with Ron Tomlinson there in Ottawa.
Mm.
And then the Shopify Audi, as well as Ron Tomlinson has an Audi as well for guys that are from
Quickly,
Ottawa.
what Audi model is that?
So it's the RS3. It's a front-wheel
Okay, it's
drive,
RS3. I wasn't sure if
turbocharged.
it's
It's the
old
RS3.
RS4.
No, so it's
Okay.
the RS3. It's a smaller
Yep.
four-door sedan, big wing, sticky tires, big power as far as for the turbo. And in fact, in iRacing came to Calabogie, scanned the car, and put it in the game.
No
So
way.
yeah, so and kind of
That says your car's perfect then. If iRacing put your car in the game, that means you guys are running a perfect vehicle then.
right. So
Yeah.
iRacing kind of finds what car they want to put in the game. The the Audi TCR cars is where where it's kind of building, and it was kind of an enthusiastic series for real life and for the iRacing. So they kind of bought into that, and they came up, scanned the car. So interesting fact, we took the Audi RS3 to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and we
Yep.
ran laps on a lap day with the Shopify car.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, ran it in the sim, and
Okay.
if you overlaid the data, so speed, G forces, braking forces, if you overlay the data in a software program, you couldn't decide which one was from the game and which one was real
To
life.
the track? Seriously?
Yeah, so all the data from the
Wow.
car was identical for that track.
Wow. Well, that's consistency. I mean, that speaks to that. I'm a novice in this stuff, and I love watching the F1 show on Netflix. I got to drop that in there. You and I were texting about that offline. But I can see sometimes how some of the drivers, sometimes they have frustration because the car isn't necessarily where they want it to be. Maybe the feel, the performance of the car, the handling, any of those driving kind of characteristics. So the fact that your car was that perfect that iRacing was like, hey, yo, we're going to put this in the game, that's got to have you and your team really pumped up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the thing, is just kind of getting the brand out there, getting the recognition for like Tooth Autosport. These guys have been phenomenal as far as track prep and coaching wise. I mean, I've learned more in the 3 years with those guys than I did 8 years prior to that driving on my own.
Wow.
So anytime you can get professional coaching, it's night and day. So for instance, I can go and run 25 laps, right? And I'll get
Yeah.
quicker. I'll get quicker as kind of the day goes on.
Sure.
If we run 5 laps, sit down with a coach, look over the data, the next 5 laps, I will gain what I would have gained on my own all day in about one session. So you kind of cut your time. It just, you pay
Coaching,
for it.
man.
You pay for it. Same thing
Sure.
playing goalie, right? You can go
Right.
out there and stop pucks, and you can kind of figure it out as you kind of go along. But if you have
Sure.
2 or 3 private lessons, you will gain exponentially the information that you need to improve that much better.
No question. No question. Let's get back to stream. Ghetto Workout says, does the focus and attention you have as an NHL goalie transition well into race car driving? Question for you, Andy.
Yeah. So the nice thing about the racing is that you have to stay focused. In the game, it's a little bit easier to kind of lose focus. You get text messages, you jump on a phone call, and you can wreck, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Sure.
When you
Yeah.
go on track, it's just like going on in the net, right?
Right.
That buzzer comes on, and you go on the ice. There's no phones, there's no fans. It's just
True.
you and the other team, the other puck, or whatever you're battling with. Same thing. You get in
Right.
the car, your life's on the line. Um, if you're not focused and ready to go, if you're tired, you're sleepy at the wheel, bad things can happen. So yes, the same
Mhm.
focus has to be there. There's two. The main thing that we notice sitting down with a coach and learning from him is, in from a goaltender's perspective, you're always watching pucks come at you.
Right. Totally.
So you're always tracking from out to in.
Right.
In racing, you're always trying to track out. So you're always trying to look ahead. So it's
Right.
a complete opposite mindset and vision scale when you're driving a race car versus trying to stop hockey pucks.
That's so interesting. Awesome insight by you. Caleb EC asks, ask him how crazy playing game 3 or 4 against San Jose while playing for Colorado. Absolutely beauty of a game. And I got to tell you, man, that's when I got into TV. You literally carried Colorado Avalanche on your back into the playoffs. You guys had some young players that ended up playing in the league a long time. Ryan O'Reilly, by the way, who is the reigning playoff MVP, Conn Smythe, and Stanley Cup champ with the St. Louis Blues. But Matt Duchene, Chris Stewart, there's a bunch of guys you had in that group. So I'm going to let you take us through what that game was like, or those games are like for you.
Wow, that was almost 10 years now, at least 10 years probably. I think
Yeah.
it was 2010. Um, yeah, that was an exciting time for me. I think it was a new year for me. I had never been a starter before. It was one of those things where I had to kind of come in and figure out how to play on a nightly basis. So
Sure.
big shout
Been
out to
there.
Peter Budaj. He was such a support piece in that. I know
Mm-hmm.
he didn't play a whole lot, but he was there every day, pushing me, making me better, working hard, and just a great influence around everybody to kind of keep everybody loose. So again, uh, he was a big part of that whole run with us that we had. But as far as the playoffs, I mean, you just kind of black out and you just kind of focus on one thing. I mean, I remember Danny Heatley trying to get in my head, skating by on every TV timeout, trying to say something. The refs kind of came in and cut us off in between to try to give me my space. But
Yep.
I think we've seen Tim Thomas get hit in the head from Sean Avery. So there's guys who are
Sure.
definitely trying to get in your head, and it was one of those things, just trying to stay focused. And we got a lucky bounce, I think, with Ryan O'Reilly doing scoring on a weird play where Boyle
Yep.
kind of tried to pass it behind the net. So
Yep.
just kind of
I
one of the
remember that.
fortunate, everything kind of lined up for that game, and it was unfortunate we weren't able to get further than the game six, but we took them to overtime a couple times, and it was just again surreal.
Oh my
The
god,
post
dude,
game
that scared the living fuck out
um,
of me. And I'm in VR,
the
bro. I
post
see a
game
car flying
interview
over me.
in Colorado was. I wish we had high definition video from back then, because
Why?
I've got video
Yeah.
from like an old cell phone,
Yeah.
of the chant and the whole interview. Like, I don't even think I answered a question. I just kind of stood out there, and the whole stadium was all there, and they were all still
Oh, that's
chanting your
amazing.
name. So
I got goosebumps, man.
it was a very cool big experience. And like I said, the only kind of the footage I have is from my buddy's cell phone in the stands, which isn't great resolution. So I kind of wish. We're so lucky now with the 4K and whatnot for the resolution we've
Totally.
got on phones. So it's kind of cool.
That's a special memory for you for sure. Brent J35, who says, "What's up, Weeks? I also watched you play for the 67s." Yes, I did. Thank you so much. You asked. You said your kids are watching. Hello, Braden, Eden, Jack, and Isla. Hope you're doing well up in Ottawa, up in the nation's capital. Thanks for being an NHL fan. I'm sure you're Senators fans. You get to see Andy and the crew bring it every night when they're playing for the Sens. A young, exciting team. They got a lot of vibrant young players that are coming up. Brady Tkachuk, Thomas Chabot, my man Anthony Duclair was an all-star this year. Some really good pieces coming for your team. One sec, Andy. We got Palisi Goaltending, who says, do you guys feel white base gear makes you look bigger in the net? What are your thoughts on that, Andy?
I think that's kind of been an old wives' tale for all these years. I think everyone's kind of been told that to have white gear, have
Yeah.
bright gear, so that it does look bigger. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, when I had all the black gear a couple years ago, I think the players were like, "Oh, that's like it pops so much that it actually looks bigger." So it's hard to
Right.
say. You know, everyone's going to have their critique or their opinion on it, but I don't think it really matters. I think Corey Crawford won a cup wearing black gear, so
True.
hard to say.
True, true, true. Anawak 91, thank you so much, man. That's really kind of you. Fargino says, hey guys, thank you for another live show. We're missing hockey here in Buffalo. Hope you both are safe and healthy. Same to you, Fargino. We appreciate that. Marcus Rodier, Andy, don't retire in block letters. So, Andy, listen, you talked to us about how you got into motorsports, right? Being a track rat, your dad racing vets, you and your brother involved. What about Axiom? You talked about, let's talk a little bit about Axiom and your partnership with them and kind of what they do.
All right, so Axiom is a company that we started 2 years ago, and it was you know, so I had a friend of mine who had kind of like taken over my website and was kind of helping me with some of the you know the digital side of things. He was working at an advertising company, and you know we talked over you know having beers one night and was like, all right, you know where do you want to go? You know, he's like, oh, I'd really like to start my own company. I'm like, all right, well when you kind of figure it out, come see me. So,
Right.
you know, 6 months later, it's like, hey, I quit my job. So I was like, okay. So it kind of got pushed into the forefront. You know, like I said, he'd already been kind of helping me with the website and some of the media stuff.
Right.
So it was kind of a no-brainer to kind of see what he could do. I ended up getting a warehouse down here. We don't have basements in Florida, so I was had a storage unit. We had stuff
Sure.
everywhere. We had a townhouse. We had stuff in, and so we kind of consolidated into one house. And I needed more space, and then I had you know, had this idea and this vision of having race cars and you know a place to go hang out, maybe a batting cage for the kids or a floor hockey rink.
Sick.
So that's kind of what we've done.
I love it.
You know, so I brought Tooth
Yeah.
Autosport down here for the winter. They run Daytona and Sebring and whatnot, so they've got their cars in the back, and you know, so that's kind of where it kind of started. So the front office, which was going to kind of be like a hangout, turned into an office for Axiom, and we've got
Wow.
three guys that we all there's four of us that kind of started the company and kind of put our you know lively to put their they put their livelihoods on the line, and I kind of just kind of put up the warehouse and said, all right, whatever you guys need, let's kind of get it going, and we've kind of taken off and started to grow things. So we're at the point now where we're trying to learn Twitch. We're trying to learn some of the other digital marketing sides of things that we can kind of tap into. And like I said, they spent all day. Three of them. There's three guys today working on this stream Instagram to Twitch and get it kind of so that everything kind of worked out together and they were able to hammer out those details.
Great stuff, man. Hey, for Anawak 91, I'm not sure I recognize your name because I know we didn't play against you in the NHL, but appreciate you tuning into the show nonetheless. Keep in mind, 7.2 billion people in the world, only 64 NHL goalies in the world on the planet. So we appreciate you tuning in to watch us, though. Thanks for tuning in. My man JP Spiso says incredible technology, and JP speaks so highly of you. You would know him from your time down in Florida. One of the great warriors that we have here in the U.S. and a former service member and an Army Ranger. But he said he's like Andy is a constant professional. So maybe you want to say a little shout out to him, Andy.
Yeah, JP. You know, we met JP as with Florida. We went up to West Point and had a little team bonding situation where we, you know, all of us kind of got together and Jacques Martin kind of set it up, and we all went out and did this whole military type training for a day, and it was absolutely wicked. We had a paintball game at the end of it. We had hiking with military stuff. I mean, at that time, I didn't know what a gym was when I was playing in Florida, so I was probably not the strongest guy on the team. So I was kind of like stuck holding the flag instead of actually holding heavy stuff. So that was kind of neat. But like I said, JP he's a very you know strong-willed, and he's got a great personality, and he's always pushing to be better. So he's you know a great motivational guy that we all kind of rely on, and he's I know worked with many National Hockey League players.
Not a question, man. We had him. We did likewise. We were the first team to go up to West Point, the Army Academy, and JP was an ace, man. Still is. So yeah, we had a great time. It helped transform the culture. The Rangers organization really took off from that in 05 to being one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, and Henrik Lundqvist becoming a superstar and the whole rest of it. So props to JP always. JP, you know that. We got a question here from Cole McGregor who says, Andy, who's the best teammate in the dressing room? That's a tough question, but I'm gonna let you handle that anyway, Andy.
Who's the best teammate in the dressing room? Is that what the
Yeah,
question?
that was the question. Yeah, you got it.
Can we say all of them? I mean, that's kind of
I
politically
like
correct,
that.
right? I mean,
That works for me.
yeah, I mean, I think as far as let's as far as like the young guys, I mean, we've got great young players. I mean, Brady Kachuk has always gone out
Love him.
above in his way, out of his way to make my kids feel special in the room because he knows that when he was chasing around the locker room that with
Right.
his dad around, so he kind of gets it and he's been great. I think the best thing about is that our young guys are including all the old guys. The old guys are including the young guys.
Cool, man.
I want to make a shout out to Boro as well. He's always a guy that's positive, always trying to
Nice.
unite the guys. Always trying to do good things in the community. I mean, he's just been great for us, and he's one of the hardest working guys in the league. So you have to kind of work hard around him, and forces everybody to kind of pull their weight. But again, it goes right from top to bottom. We've got a bunch of great guys, and
Fucking.
there's no guy that I would say would be
What you doing, Will?
that I would say that is
That
a
you
bad
wouldn't
influence.
include.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Or that would be a bad egg in the room or
What's
what have you.
that?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. We got another one from here from Brad Ellingson 51 who says, "Hey Andy, how about a shout out to all the race safety people?" Smiley face.
So Brad I met about 7 or 8 years ago. Brad is he works the safety crew at Road America and Blackhawk Farms. He's one of the local
Cool.
guys there. He's a firefighter and EMT guy. So he's
Love
the guy
it.
that drags you out of the tire wall when you stuff it and make sure that you're safe at the end of the day. So those guys, big shout out to the SCCA safety workers and those volunteers because they're volunteers. They don't get paid. They go to the track because they love seeing the cars go around, and we can't do that without them.
That's really nice of you, man. We also have Mikey Lineberger up in Rochester who says, "I remember seeing Craig Anderson in Rachi. He crushed it. So I'm glad to see he's had a great NHL career."
No, I
Which is
appreciate.
nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, Rochester was a good time for me. I think met a lot of great people. We had a Florida Rochester split, so
Right.
got a cool intro to different organization and different teammates and whatnot. So guys would get called up to Florida, and they may not be having as good as a year as a guy from like a Buffalo prospect, but Buffalo
Sure.
didn't need a guy, so it's kind of like one of those things where you don't always lose your best guy when you have a split team because, like I said, Florida was calling a guy up, and so I don't think they have any split organizations anymore down in the minors, but it's definitely a different experience.
No question. Emily B. Harlan out with the San Diego Gulls HL team of the Anaheim Ducks says, "What did it mean to you to win the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy? And how pumped were you basically to see Robin Leonard win it last season?"
So two pretty big moments in my life. I think that was one of them. Actually, like I said, they were both big moments because again, coming back, my wife telling me to go play, and using hockey as kind of an outlet from day-to-day grind of being a support figure for my wife, and she'd been such a support figure for myself for so many years and still is to this day that I felt like that I owed her my full dedication to the game to play my best. So she's a big credit to that as far as that season and that whole award wouldn't have happened without her. So, and Robin, I watched him grow as a 20-year-old up to where he is today, and the best thing is seeing him get rewarded for his hard work because it's not easy what he's gone through and where he's been and kind of the steps he's had to take. So kudos to him and seeing him get rewarded with the same award was um, you know awesome to see and I was so proud of him to be who he is today.
That's awesome of you, man. Great leadership as a veterani in the NHL. Not a veteran, I call them veteranos. We also have 2020 Dan Lynchy who says RS3 is a masterclass handle car. Philly Matt B7, who's always tuned in the show, he's like, "Andy, how do you feel about playing possibly in an empty arena?"
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I think at the end of the day, if we can put a show on and still get it televised and get people at home to have something, I think that's what they've done with this virtual racing. Um, I think it's the atmosphere won't be there. It still won't have the same effect, but at the same time, if we're able to go play and still kind of be isolated, whatnot from the large groups and able to give fans something to do when they're sitting at home. I think it's a good possibility and it should be done. Again, it's going to be one of those things. We got to make our own momentum. We got to make your own energy, but it's for the love of the game. We didn't play in front of fans when we were growing up, and we still loved going out
Totally.
there. So I think sometimes that gets lost when you play at the pro level because it's all about winning, and you
Mm,
sometimes lose that love for the game. But as long as you get that love and passion, you can play as long as you want.
totally get it, man. We could play literally in parking lots. We did it as kids, as you just mentioned. So you great NHL players now, it's no different. That passion is still there to the intensity. All right, let's see who else we have on here. We got Party Marty 1984. Hey, it's Party Marty. Hi, Kevin. How you doing? Andy, how are you? Party Marty, I think he meant to say from Sobeys back home, Sobeys grocery store. How are you doing? I think the time I had all the time, even new things. I'd love a shout out. So maybe you're going to give him a shout out, Andy.
Yeah, Party Marty. He's one of the guys that I've seen every time I go to Sobeys. He's always got something for me to sign, or any of the guys that comes in. He's got a hat or card. He's always prepared. And the guy's
That's
just all
cool.
smiles. Doesn't matter if we lost 10 in a row, we won 10 in a row. He's still there looking for an autograph and telling us how great we are. So thanks, Party Marty.
That's cool, man. That's a great area. As mentioned, I played junior there, spent a lot of time up in Ottawa, hockey-wise and otherwise. A lot of nice folks in Metro Ottawa, from the PN to Gloucester, you name it. So it's a real special area. Not to mention it's Canada's nation's capital too. Let's keep it going now. Hey, let's get back to the brass tacks. So what about this A41 brand? You haven't really you let us in a little bit, but what about the A41 brand? What's that all about? And what's the real genesis of it? What are some of the plans, if you can share?
All right, so maybe like I said, when we started kind of Axiom, and we wanted to come up with a logo, so everyone was kind of coming up with
Right.
logos. Lundqvist had his logo.
Sure.
Axiom was starting to create their logo and see what there is, and I had been working with Tooth Autosport, and what looks good on a race car. So eventually, the plan is for me to, you can't do hockey forever, but you can be a gentleman driver for forever. There's guys that
Exactly.
are driving, and they're 85, 90 years old, so. It's one of
Sure.
those things where what would look good on a race car? How could we tie in motorsports with hockey and kind of turn that logo over? So we came up with an A with a 4 and a 1, which you kind of see here on the old
Sweet.
hat.
Oh yeah, I've
Uh,
seen that. I've seen that. Yeah, I've
so
seen one of
that's
your
that's
pads
so
too,
yeah. So the
at
white
some
is the A.
points.
Yeah. So we kind of
Yeah,
chose that as so guys at
that's
Axiom
slick.
kind of came up with that, and it's just one of
Yep.
those things where. Um, I want to have it for the race car. I want to have it for kind of whatever we do.
Yeah.
Um, I put it on the
Don't
pads.
apologize for it, Andy. It looks
Uh,
sweet. I'm
so
feeling it.
we
It's
like it.
clean.
Like I said, we got the
Yeah.
Tooth Autosport. We did. This is kind of the timing. The hat's about 3 years old. Still got Bryant's on the side. So
Yep.
we haven't kind of updated. Again, it's one of those things where I'm kind of lazy when it comes to self promoting and the whole promotion thing. So, again, just like designing pads, I kind of wait to the last minute. And if
Right.
that's where Axiom kind of comes in. I kind of leave the ball in their court. What do you guys want to do? If you guys tell me to jump, I'll be like, all right, well, do you want me to jump 2 feet, 4 feet, or you want me to drive race cars? I'll drive race cars. You want me to go stop pucks? I'll go stop pucks. So, it's one of those things where again, we sponsored a beer league team here in Florida where I jump on and play defense sometimes to get a good
Hold
workout
on.
in.
Here's the $1 billion question when you do that. You're not. Don't let me down like all the other guys. Please tell me you rock your goalie skates when you do that. Please.
Well,
Do you?
it's a lot easier now because the Bauer skates, they don't have a
Yes, that's
calling on them,
true.
so they look like
Yeah.
forward skates. So I
Yeah.
will have to admit I did order a pair of forward skates this season. They're sitting in Ottawa.
Keep them sitting in Ottawa.
Johnny Forget is supposed to get them all dialed in
Yeah.
for me as a type of you know
The way you want them
the
sharpened,
way I want them.
profiled.
Right, because if I
Yeah.
put on forward skates, I've tried it. I put on forward skates, I toe pick and end up like breaking my neck. So
It's a
um,
different feeling, man.
it's
You're not alone. It's a different feeling.
yeah.
Yes.
So
I had
like I said,
one
all
during
last
Christmas.
summer I played maybe 3 or 4 games last year.
Yeah.
Again, it's an unbelievable workout. I think I wore a heart rate monitor, and I don't think my heart rate got below like 150 or 160. It's insane.
I know it's nuts, right?
2 minute shifts. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
it's
Got to extend them a little bit. Why not?
gotta go for that extra goal.
Of course. Why not, man? So, okay, that's so the business side of things, man. So you talked about the branding, but what are some of the plans that you have for A41? What are some of those future plans? I love that you're focused on business because a lot of times with different guys that I played with over the years during my playing days, a lot of guys are like, whatever, I'll play forever. And they kind of took their eye off the ball or they didn't really develop other interests. Even sometimes, not sometimes, quite often in TV, even now, like we'll have guys that kind of dip a toe into the water. Yeah, well, I'll kind of do it, but they're not as professional as they were when they played. You clearly, by what we can see here, are as professional with your racing empire as you are with your NHL career, which already been 18 years. So, what are some of the aspirations that you have for Axiom and for A41?
Well, so my goal is to eventually run um, professional events, whether it's Porsche Cup,
Mhm.
IMSA, endurance races. There's different tiers of level of licensing for drivers, and like the FIA has a bronze license, which is for your
Right.
your gentleman driver. The guy that's going to pay to play, or the guy that
Sure.
they need a bronze driver that can bring some sponsorship. So like I said, it's one of those things where if you can use Axiom, create the relationships with Tooth Autosport, Calibogue Motorsports, the
Hmm.
Canadian market.
Hmm.
Maybe there's something that fits down the road as far as a business side of thing that works to put somebody's Canadian business on the race car and go run Canadian Tire with Porsche Cup
Cool,
and
man.
be part of a big weekend, or be part of F1 Montreal on the Porsche car. And
Sick.
someone from Ottawa, a business from Ottawa that wants to have firsthand experience of the F1 Montreal can get in on an amateur level of
Sure.
Porsche Cup instead of trying to be part of the F1. So it's kind of
And
one
you
of
have
those.
Shopify currently right now, right?
So Shopify
Yeah.
is working with Tooth Autosport in Calibogue. Shopify is now an investor in Calibogue.
Cool.
They've got the Shopify Audi TCR with Tooth Autosport. So
Nice.
like I said, they've kind of bought in he's got the same aspirations as I do. Be a professional amateur race car driver of some sort, and kind of push that. And so as an amateur, we don't know anything about going racing.
Sure.
Just like the average beer leaguer has no idea what it takes
Doesn't
to
know what it
go
means to play
play
net
pro hockey, right? So,
in the United Center. Right.
so,
Exactly.
so you need
Yeah.
someone that's been there, some guidance. So Travis
Sure.
Hill at Tooth Autosport, he's raced professionally. He's raced IMSA. His brother runs the team as far as the mechanicals. Um, those guys have kind of leaned on them as far as, hey, where do we want to go? How do we get there? Axiom is now came involved because we do run at Daytona. We do run down in Florida.
Wow, man.
And Axiom can be a part of that as far as digital media content, going and finding sponsors,
Right.
and kind of putting us in the right media source to get the
Sure.
views that we need to get the company to say, hey, we want to do business with you, or hey, we want to come enjoy a weekend at 24 hours at Daytona and be part of the car and part of the experience.
That's really cool. Your buddy Brad Ellington, 51. Kevin, come on down to Blackhawk Farms. I'll show you around. You can run on the safety track with us, and with the safety truck, rather. Best seat in the house next to being on the track. Hey, I would definitely do that. I got to tell you something, man. There's a track that's about an hour and a half from our house here in Jersey, in the New York side, up in New York. And I got to tell you what, I've had a couple of the days there with the Jag Land Rover guys. It's crazy. Those drivers, and when they've got the professional drivers, honest to God, I'm white knuckling in the passenger seat. I got the helmet on, and I'm literally stuffed in there. And just the G-force, the guts that they have to stay on corners, to stay on curbs, it's crazy. Not get off the accelerator. It's such a different level. So I'm just echoing what you were just saying. The pros are the pros for a reason.
And I'm going to make your mouth drop right now because those guys
Yeah.
are only going about 80 or 90%.
Are you serious? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a driver, you never
Yeah.
go 100% with somebody else in the car. Period. End of story. Their life,
Wow.
not only is your life on the line, but their life's on the line, and you'd never be at the edge.
Wow, man,
So
that's crazy. Have you ever gotten to the edge yourself when you're driving?
I'd like to think I have, but I'm pretty sure I haven't.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I get it.
There's
No,
always
it
a
makes
little bit
sense.
more. There's always a little bit more in the car, and that's why those
Yeah.
guys are professionals. The guys that are running IMSA, Trans Am, F1. I mean, those guys are at the edge every single lap, and they're
It's
paid.
incredible.
They're paid to do it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And as we mentioned, just kind of circling back to the F1 show on Netflix, even just watching that and seeing what Vettel, I mean, the great Lewis Hamilton is going to go down as the best of all time. Watching what they're able to do. I've been to Monaco, not for F1, but I know where that circuit goes, different locations. I can't imagine. I've seen Indy, though, back home in Toronto years ago. I can't imagine what those drivers are able to do, their reflexes, their abilities to read and react. Andy, I got a question for you. Do you think that helps you when you're in the net as well?
Yes, I think it does. I think it keeps you sharp. Again, it teaches you to look ahead and predict what might happen. Same
Right.
thing in the game, right? You got to read the game. You got to read and react. So, by kind of learning It's the same kind of stepping stone that you learn in hockey. You learn in the racing. You learn if this guy's spinning here,
Hmm.
where's the safe spot to go. The cool thing is you look wherever you look is where you go. So
Yeah,
if you look at the wall, you're driving into the wall. You look at the wreck, you're driving into the wreck. So again,
interesting.
it's a vision training and whatnot. So it's definitely cool.
Interesting stuff. Okay, so we got the Goalie Guild. Great stuff out there in Colorado by the Goalie Guild, by the way. He says, we'll never forget that game. Standing ovation, record setting performance, and the crazy bounce off of O'Reilly. It was epic. He had like 54 saves. It was amazing. So, Andy, a nice shout out from our good buddies over at the Goalie Guild. You're more than welcome, Brent J35. Hold on once. Okay, Philly Matt B asked, Andy, what's your opinion about the shootout to settle regular season games? And would you be okay with shootouts in playoff games?
I definitely no shootouts in playoff games. That's a
Right?
big
Come
no.
on.
No, people
Right.
they're paying to see the whole game. Make them watch it to the
Totally.
end. Um,
100%.
regular season. I mean, I was in the league when we had 0-0 ties.
Yep. Same. I had the
Um,
last one.
okay,
I had the last
cool,
one down in Florida.
cool.
Actually, no, 0-0 tie. No, but it was a 6-6 tie. Excuse me, in Florida, in 05, I want to say 04
Yeah.
against the Panthers. 6-6 tie we had down at BB&T. That was the last
And
tie.
I think
Anyway,
they played 5-on-5 overtime back then too.
it was crazy. It was crazy.
There was no chance
Yeah.
of going. I mean, there was ties left, right, and center. So,
Yeah.
I think that the 3-on-3 is exciting. I think I'd rather see more 3-on-3
Me too.
than
3-on-3 is fun.
than the shootout. I mean, the shootout
Yeah.
now takes your at least 3-on-3 is somewhat of a team game, and it's more shinny than anything. But at least it's still team oriented. It's still like full speed breakaways. It's still extra passes and whatnot, and it's still you make a big save, we can go down at the other end and make a goal on a 2-on-0 or whatnot.
For sure.
Where you get into the shootout, it turns into maybe guys going half speed or quarter
Sure.
speed. They're able to make 800 moves before they even get to the net.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where some guys are really good at it. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is unbelievable at it. So
Sick.
I think he's going to give you a different response than a guy like Robin Leonard, for instance,
Sure.
who's definitely shown us how much he loves shootouts. So
Yeah, I get it.
again, everyone's going to have their opinion, but I think overall, I think it's a good way to end the game. I think a 3-on-3 is a better way to end the game, but
Right.
it either way is still better than a 4-4 tie. Playing 5-on-5 for an extra 5 minutes.
Totally agree. Smaller pictures. Thanks for the kind words, man. Andy, we've got a question here from Greg_Burns who says, with all the great prospects in Ottawa and Belleville, what are your thoughts and who do you like?
I would say that a guy that I got to know a little bit this year was Drake Batherson.
I played with his dad in Fort Wayne in the old IHL.
All right.
Yeah.
So Drake, again, one of those guys that he gets it. He's a true pro. Comes in the room, does his work. Always nice to everybody. Away from the rink, great guy. I think there's huge potential in his shootouts, his shot release. The way he sees the game. I'm really stoked to kind of see where he kind of plays out in the next couple of years.
That's cool, man. Great to see. Well, Landon, I played with his dad too. He's also a part of the organization. I know he's injured this year, but a promising young player as well. His dad played in the league for a long time, Craig Landon. Greg Grease says, thanks for doing this. It was very appreciated. Never underestimate the power of what you do. Greg, thank you so much, man. Appreciate the kind words. Continue to stay strong. Andy, let's get a couple quick ones in here before Instagram kicks us off, all right? So iRacing is blowing up in terms of publicity right now. Yeah. Maybe you could speak to that quickly.
I was there before it blew up.
Crazy,
I've been doing it for 8-9 years. It's gotten progressively better. I mean, they're based out of Boston.
Okay.
I've talked to them. They've invited me to their studio facility.
Cool.
They are about 45 minutes to an hour outside of downtown, so it's been tough. Our schedule, we haven't been able to work it out where I've been able to shoot out there. But
right.
Again, it's one of those things where I started getting into it about 10 years ago. I was playing with a $100 wheel, and now we're on to direct drive.
Let's see that wheel, by the way, again.
All right, so we've got a Fanatec wheel here.
Take us inside the wheel. Don't be tight. Let's see what you got.
What do you want to see here? We've got
the whole setup, the wheel. Yeah, let's see that.
I got to back up here.
No worries.
All right. So what we've got here, we've got
holy.
So we've got our Next Level Racing GT Track rig. They've been fortunate enough to send us a couple products to try out and see how we
Yep.
like it. We've so far triple monitor mount is great as far as kind of what we've been able to do. We just picked up
Right.
this Fanatec direct drive, and it's second to none. If anyone's looking for a direct drive unit, that's a very good one to
That's
pick
the
up.
one.
That's pretty
Okay.
good. We've been running these Fanatec V3 pedals
Yep.
down here. They're pretty
Sweet.
good. They've
Do
got
they feel realistic in feel
you can
and brake and
you can adjust them. They've got real pedals out now by Tilton. The guys are turning real race pedals into sim pedals with hydraulics and
wow.
whatnot. So these are definitely a middle of the road pack pedal. Um, but again, it depends on what your budget is. You can go up to $1,500 pedals. They're all made out of hydraulic that are actually real racing pedals that you put in your race car. So
Right.
again, it gets pretty intense. We've got actually there's a picture of my Corvette currently. We're talking about painting that.
Sweet.
That's just a
Nice.
model. We've got
Yeah, it's a
we've got
model
the
scale version.
yep.
Yeah.
So
Sick.
couple computers. I mean, we've got it
Yep.
dialed in here where we're trying to be somewhat decent at esports. I think that's kind of the
Yeah.
goal is
Esports is massive right now. Even our NHL network, one of our hosts, man, Jameson Coyle, he is on the NHL network Twitch account. He got them started. Rupper is going to get involved. They're going to start gaming for the NHL network, which is huge. And obviously, right now during COVID, esports is going wild. So
yeah.
maybe you can speak to that quickly too.
Yeah, I think it's getting bigger. I mean, it's trying to find out what people want to watch. I think
Right.
racing. A lot of people like watching it on TV. A lot of people like turn it on TV and like, all right, find me something else like 3 minutes into it. So it's trying to find that balance of esports of what are people going to watch, and that's kind of thing. So we've tried to pick some of the bigger events where it's an endurance race and it's a team thing where there's some drama behind it and some pit
Sure.
stops and some wrecks and
Yeah.
some different moments where you got driver changes like you would in real life. So I think a big one for us last year was 24-hour Le Mans. We did 24
That's
hours of
crazy,
Daytona.
that race, man.
Yeah, so last year I raced at 3 in the morning at the warehouse here in the dark um, at Le Mans in a P2 car, and it was absolutely amazing. A lot of fun. But again, it's one of those things where you get a lot of people tuned in because it is such a big major race. To jump on and run just a sprint race where there's kind of no drama, unless it's a wreck fest. I think the best thing about NASCAR, right, is people wrecking. So
Sure.
that's kind of the
Who's
thing
your
where
favorite driver, Andy? In all of motorsports, man. Who do you have? One or two favorite drivers? Doesn't matter. Indy, F1,
so I've got a
NASCAR.
couple personal relationships. One with Ron Fellows,
Cool, man.
Canadian racer out of Toronto,
Yep.
drove for
Yep.
Corvette. So back when I played for Colorado, I started out with the Jake logo on my back, which is the C5R or C6 racing logo.
Right.
And Dan Binks, the head crew chief for
Okay.
the number 3 car, reached out to me with a pen written letter. Said, "Hey, if you're ever in Detroit, look us up. You want to come to the track? Let me know." So I ended up
Cool.
reaching out to those guys. Went to Road America, hung out with Ron Fellows, Johnny O'Connell, Oliver Gavin,
Sweet,
all the
man.
guys for the Corvette team, and it was a cool experience. Uh, Side note: Johnny O'Connell raced for Corvette. Thought he was a hockey goalie. He played in high school at one point, and
Doesn't
so
everybody?
I know. So
Yeah.
Johnny is now he raced for Cadillac after that, and
Nice.
so another guy who I love hanging out with when I get the chance to, and his son is trying to get into motorsports too. Is a young 20-year-old Kanan O'Connell. He actually came and
Cool.
raced a couple races with us in our Spec Miatas and tried to get his feet wet in that and get some experience. But again, Ron Fellows, super nice guy. Johnny O'Connell, both Corvette racing guys that have kind of touched me to my heart dearly that have created great personal relationships with.
That's really cool. Who's the best hockey player you've ever played against? You've been in the league 18 years. Who's the best player you've ever played against in the NHL?
Wow, that's tough. I mean, I did play against Mario Lemieux, when
Me,
I was
same.
first coming in.
Yep.
Watching him just slow the game down, and the game was much slower back then, but he slowed it down to
Totally.
an absolute
Ballroom
crawl.
dancer. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it was unbelievable. So,
Yeah.
but I think as far as in today's game, you obviously you got the McDavids and the Crosbys, the Ovechkins,
Right.
the pretty obvious ones. But I think the one that kind of always bites me in the butt is Austin Matthews. I think he's
Yeah,
got
he's
my
sick.
number. I think the last game I played him, though, I don't think he scored, so I think we're going in the right direction on that.
Nice. There you go.
But again, he's the guy that, you know, him and Patrick Kane, you know, go with the Americans here.
Yeah.
When we did the Jimmy Johansson charity game,
Absolutely.
and you see them play in like a shinny type hockey game where
Yep.
there's no checking and they can kind of do whatever they want with the puck. Their
Not even fair.
their skill level is they belong in a different league, and there's a few guys in the league obviously that you could say that about, but you know, those two guys in particular that I have extreme um, you know, nightmares over guys coming down on me.
Totally, man. Every goalie has them. Andy, post game versus post race. When are you more tired? Dropping the goalie gear or dropping your racing suit and helmet?
I would say probably the racing gear, because it's with the game there's it's set, right? So you go in for morning
Right.
skate. Your routine is you get up in the morning, breakfast, morning skate,
Yeah.
lunch, sleep. You know, get back to the rink, warm up, game, then you're done. You're still firing off on that adrenaline. The thing about the race car weekends is that you're on track at like 9 in the morning. All right, then you're
Yeah.
on track at like 1. Okay, then your race is at 4. Right, so you don't have that prep of a proper meal and a proper nap. So by the
Right.
time you
Different
get to that,
schedule.
by the time you get to that race, you are exhausted, right?
Sure.
And you're so stoked because it's something that I don't do a whole lot. So when you are there at the track, you don't sleep
Sure.
much
It's
the night
all
before
everything.
because you're
Totally.
so pumped. You're like, all right, so at 6 a.m. you're up because there's cars coming in and out of the track already, and
Sure.
you know, you go to bed late because you're still super excited about it. And your adrenaline's going. So you're down
Sorry,
on.
Andy, not to cut you.
Yeah.
Pardon me, just for time, because Instagram's going to boot us soon.
Okay.
Can you fire that up right now?
What do you want me to fire up?
Can you fire
Sim?
up your sim?
Yeah.
Fire that up, please, so we can see
All
it
right.
before we head off here
All right.
momentarily. And
There
if
we
we
go.
get cut off, thank you so much in
I think
advance.
I gotta
Go
turn the phone like this just because.
No worries.
But actually, hey, Jake, you want to come hold this and show everyone? Come here. My son's here. I'm gonna have him.
Oh, sweet. And if we get cut
Uh-oh.
off, we got a minute and a half remaining.
All right.
I'll jump back on. Send me
All right.
another thing and we'll jump back. Oh, no, that's perfect.
Uh-oh. Oh, the pedals get screwed up. We'll figure it out.
Whoa. Jake, can you tilt the phone down just a little bit, please? Oh, yeah. Wow. That looks totally real.
Oh yeah. So the pedals aren't set up right now properly, but
That gives us an idea right there.
something's going on here with the pedals. There we go. Here we go. Hang on. Let me get here. See if
That's crazy. That's crazy. And we
All
got
right.
about a minute and change
right.
remaining. I'm just going to thank all the NHL fans. Thank all you great NHL fans back in Canada's nation capital in Ottawa and around the world that are tuning in.
All right.
We had a lot of fans from across the NHL and across the world that tuned in. Thank you. All the medical and healthcare workers, thanks so much. Andy, Axiom, your partners, Tooth, everybody, thanks so much. Really appreciate it, man. This is so cool.
There we go. Now we got a lap going.
That's so sweet, man.
All right. So this is Road Atlanta, and all the
Yeah.
elevation is accurate. It's all been laser
Wow.
scanned. The car has all been laser scanned.
Wow.
So if you go there in real life, if you come on the sim and you run it for a couple hours before you go to the track, your first session, you're going to be lightning quick. You won't be spending that whole time on recon and trying to learn the track. I already
Appreciate
know
it.
where everything's going.
Thank you, Andy. I'm
So-
going to say adieu. Thank you so much. We'll talk offline. Thanks so much to your son. Thanks, you NHL fans. Stay positive during this COVID-19. We're all on the same team. God bless everybody. Andy, we'll talk. Thank you so much, my man. This is super fun.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys, for having me.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy. We're done. Cool. There you have it, fellas. That's all she wrote. Thanks for tuning in. We had 36 people watching. So, hey, thanks everyone for coming out and supporting Kevin Weeks and myself here and learning about our setup and what we're trying to achieve here. And you know, we're looking at doing some more endurance races on the weekends, and hopefully check us out. And there's a good chance that we might jump on some Warzone or some other games and see if we can't get shot up and not be very good at video games. So, see, we are human after all. she goes.
You've got wheel damage.
The cool thing about this F3 car though is the damage.
You're dropping debris out there. We're gonna have to fix it. Come on
Let's
in.
see here if I can absolutely wreck this car and show you guys how much damage this thing actually will eat. Looks pretty mangled, bouncing around. Probably missing the rear wheel right now. I'm gonna try to lose the fronts. Oh yeah, there it was. All right, let's watch that on replay.
Exploded a tire.
Exploded a tire. There we go. All right, let's see the replay. Here, we'll go back. Oh yeah, she's mangled. Yeah. That's the new damage model on this car. iRacing's kind of been messing with that. Some of the new cars have the new damage model, and when you hit something, it absolutely explodes. So it's pretty neat, kind of what they've done with that. So, anyways, that's all for me, guys. I'm going to sign out here and head back home and get back in quarantine and get my little guys ready for bed because they got online school for tomorrow morning. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Again, appreciate you guys all, checking this out and being a part of the experience there with Kevin Weeks. So, anyways, take care, guys.